It says I am live. Greetings, all. It's Max, and we're back. I want to make sure everything goes through because it's not sending out notifications even when I schedule streams for an advanced time. So I guess check the bell, like, share, subscribe, all that goody stuff. In advanced time. Oh, my audio is working, so that's good. I'm going through StreamYard this time as opposed to my other software. Just to see, I know my OBS Studio does not seem like YouTube wants to send out any notifications for live streams. So I figured I'd try StreamYard. And also I kind of just want to do a quick deal on this thing. It's going to be kind of a ranty idealist thing. So anyone who's got, thin skin, you probably don't want to watch this one because old Max is going to go off a little bit. And I'm not, this my disclaimer in this is these are the things that I'm going to bring up are things that I myself have been guilty of in the past, currently guilty of, or guilty of in the future. It's just people and how we are. But I figured that coming off the topic of truth and how even dark truths, it's still truth. And it's important that we know these truths so that people can grow. So just because, some people might be involved or think a certain way or do certain things, by acknowledging the fact that, yes, these are not positive things in my life, you can maybe help other people to grow or gradually grow out of these ways of thinking, okay? And gradually escape the little box that television, movies, everything has programmed people to be in, all right? Now, the topic of the thing is why is everybody poor, right? Why is everybody, why are these elite guys, and why are all the presidents related to each other from every country? Why is everybody who is in all the major governments related to each other? Why is everybody in Hollywood all related to each other? Why are all these things? And why am I poor? So anyway, that's going to be the topic. And again, I'm going to rally on, and it's like, you're going to have the urge to go, well, who are you? I mean, you have all these problems too. And it's like, yes, I am aware of that. I am aware of that. But I'm still going to talk and point out these things because some of them you may not have even thought about before, may not have even considered in your life. And again, probably this stream is not going to last long. I'll probably end up deleting it. I'm not sure yet. We'll see how it goes. But there are things that need to be brought up with this. And maybe if you look at the world and your life and the way things are and your family and things, maybe, you can move ahead and grow a little bit. Move ahead and grow, especially, during this time where everything's all topsy-turvy. The only thing you really kind of do is worry about yourself. And the world has made it very easy to let you know who is not really worth talking to. Okay. It's no better time than now for self-improvement. Right. So we'll say hi. It looks like some people got some notifications. We got 6 people. Great. Random guy, Jessica Jane, One Way. Hey, we got some new people here. It's fantastic. So maybe it'd be kind of a clickbaity title, maybe not with this. But here's the basic reason that the elites have money is because they take care of their family and they stick together. Above all else, everybody's got, relatives that aren't very good, right? Aren't very useful, into some bad things, but not everybody in the family is a piece of trash. And what these families do is that as soon as they get something, they start a business, and as soon as they actually put their productivity out in the world and it gives them a return, they hold some back for their legacy and for their children and for the things that they want to support. They don't go out and go buy Buicks and timeshares and boats and then liquidate everything in the last 10 years of their life so that they can get weighted on hand and foot and leave their kids nothing. Okay, that's why we're poor. That's why the generation in America is poor and why everybody is in a debt up to their eyeballs and business is failing every place. What is the difference between the average person and the people who have money? It's the richest families, the Walton family. People know who they are. The Mars family, the Koch family. I worked at their refinery. It's actually a really good place to work. Al Saud, Albani, the Dumas family, all of these families. Did these families, what if Sam Walton, when he started his Walmart store or his first store, said, yeah, well, I'm going to sell off my stuff to BlackRock or Disney, and I'm just going to take my money, and blow it on hookers and blow, and buy myself a couple of big yachts and a few planes, and then just be weighted on hand and foot the rest of my life and never pass anything on to his kids. Where would Walmart be? It'd be closed. Now, what triggered this whole thing? What triggered this whole thing is not anything against the person who made the comment. Right there. I appreciate all comments, and I do think of them. And it helps me, understand the other point of view on it, and I understand the point of view. So the comment was regards to my truth stream the other day, and where I was talking about kids who play video games in their mom's basement and don't go do nothing. Okay. Now, there's nothing wrong with video games, and there's nothing wrong with living at home. Absolutely nothing. But if all you do with the blessing that is given to you to not have to pay rent and not have to worry about anything is use it to play video games 16 hours a day, that's why you're not rich. That's why you don't have anything. Okay. Productive people are productive people. And it's like here's the thing is if you don't know what you'd do if you had a whole bunch of money, that's why you don't have any money. There's a reason the people who don't stay rich are the people that don't have any goals or ambitions. They win the lottery and they go, well, I'm going to hire someone to do the lawn because I don't feel like doing that. I'm going to hire a housekeeper because I don't feel like, I'm not going to scrub my own toilet. I'm a millionaire now, right? So that they can go sit on the couch or go wine and dine or go traveling or all these things. And they have no greater ambitions at all whatsoever than to feed their stupid pie holes. Okay. The people who deserve to be rich and the people who maintain their wealth are people who just don't have the time to mow the lawn. I have to get somebody to mow the lawn because I don't have time. There's too many other things to do. I have to hire somebody to walk my dog because I like walking the dog, but I don't have any time for that. Okay. I have to put my resources someplace else. Not I have to hire someone to walk my dog because I really, I'm catching up on the final season of Lost, and I think it's really going to go someplace. I got to, if I just grind for 40 more hours in Warcraft, I'll finally get that epic item. It's the mentality switch here. Now you look at these elite families like Walton family, and of course, the Disney family and all these, they look at everybody else like maggots because they look at people and they're like, well, these people don't care about each other at all. They don't care about their families. They don't care about anything but themselves. So we'll feed them, right? That's the separation. That's the disconnect, where the people now have been programmed in such a way that they only care really about themselves and how far they can get ahead just so they can give themselves better stuff. Not about doing anything or changing the world or being productive or doing anything for your family. So we're going to go back to this comment. The moving out of mom's basement joke is not worthy to be claimed a supporting argument. No need to put that form of judgment on a person. In times past, family used to actually be that, put forth the effort to support each other. Right. In times past, they did. When we talk about inheritance and talk about family, it's entirely biblical. The whole Bible is based on people getting inheritance from people and people looking out for each other. You have the prodigal son right off the top of my head. There's a perfect example. Despite the guy being a dirtbag, he's still family. That doesn't mean you should put yourself in jeopardy or danger to help a family member who's struggling with stuff, right? Obviously, there's other problems. The world's a messed up place. Remember, we're trying to be idealist here. We're trying to be idealist and think about the ideal things that we can do. He says, in contrast, people have no problem to give their parents a home, in quotes, where they end up dying away from the love of their family, further proving how selfish we are in this day. My response is, or you can look at it, let those poor old people that he said in his last statement sold their legacy and their children's inheritance to get weighted on hand and foot in their final years, which is what a certain generation is doing, factually doing. If you believe this, the research studies, and I don't know why they would lie about it. Okay. So according to the research out there. And then I say nursing homes didn't really exist until the baby boomers, who didn't want to take care of their parents and don't want to take care of themselves. That is my opinion. Okay. I know I'm getting into that point in time where a lot of people are going into homes, and it's like they don't need to go to homes. They have these things called assisted living, which is you just want to get waited on and have everything taken care of for you. And I understand there's people that have medical problems and people that have things where they need assistance. I get that. But that is not the vast majority of people. And then I say Gen X, by and large, was treated like garbage by their parents, and you kind of reap what you sow. Where Gen X doesn't really, they know they're not getting anything from their parents for inheritance, and they were abandoned as children. So they don't care if their parents go to a home. They really don't. The reason that old people in some of these places that they're in are getting treated so poorly is because nobody cares. Unfortunately, nobody cares, and you reap what you sow. If you didn't take care of your kids, they're not going to care. They're not going to care. They're going to look at it as a burden to sell your crap and to put you in a home. Okay. Been through it, because I'm that age where everybody's rounding their stuff up so they can go to a home. All right. And then I go on to say over 80% of boomers intend to leave nothing behind to their children. Okay. I know that my rich, entitled boomer mom didn't want to leave anything either. Personal experience. How did I end up getting inheritance? Because she couldn't give away half of a house. That's how I ended up getting inheritance. And then I go on to say there is no problem living with your parents. The problem is using that time to do nothing and expecting your life to magically get better like your character does in a video game. The person that sits in mom's basement playing video games will move out to a welfare apartment and play video games all day when mom dies. Okay. That's a realistic truth. And that is, I believe it's truth, but of course, what's true for me may not be true for you. Right. Or is that generally a thing, a sweeping generalization that seems to be about accurate? We'll take a look at chat for a minute here before I go into continuing on with this stuff. This is great ramp. Oh, we got Frank here. Hey, how about that? Frank and Nick's here. Hope you're holding up where you guys are at and everything is all lovely. I hate to be a downer in the middle of the afternoon, but I got things to do, man, and we have to get this stuff out. And it is the applicable time when we're talking about truth. All right. And I realize a lot of what I'm saying is my perspective, but you have to understand this. I was not awake to this perspective until probably only a year ago. Okay. Where it was actually pointed out by that comedian guy. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, who would rally on the boomers and make fun of them. And I'm like, whatever. And then I started examining the people in the different age brackets and the different generations that they come from. And I'm kind of like, there seems to be some validity to that. And then you look up Pew Research studies and you look up all these things and you trace it back and you go, well, all that whole 60s thing where it was sex, drugs, and rock and roll really kind of messed those guys up. Divorce rates through the roof, go out and go cheat on everybody, have all the abortions you want, all that stuff. The total lack of morality that did not come from the generation before. And so you look at that and you kind of have to acknowledge that's the truth. And it's like, don't know why it is. Don't know why it is, but you kind of have to accept that the vast majority of people that's the way that they look at things is me. And I don't know about Generation Z and millennials and stuff and where their head is at. A lot of them understand the fact that they can't count on the government. They can't count on Social Security and are getting into good things like crypto. And they're getting into alternative. They view the world as a game, like a video game, and they manipulate it like a video game, just like, the stockbrokers and stuff like that, which is a good thing. And, we'll see how that turns out. What it comes down to is because of that, the generations after the prosperity boom in the 40s and 50s all of that wealth was just sucked up and pissed away. Okay. And it's unfortunate. And I know there are people out there who are like, oh, my parents left me stuff and they took care of me and they paid for school and all that. Now, yes, you are the outliers. You understand. You're the outliers. Of course there is. Of course there is. But when you go to Forbes magazine, and this was easy to find. I just Googled boomers don't intend to leave any inheritance. Okay. The Pew Research study actually says over 80% don't plan to. Okay. Over 80% of people in that age bracket don't intend to have anything to leave to their children. For 80%. This article says 50%, so I'm not sure what specific demographic in there that they're targeting, but we'll take a look at it. This, guys, is why nobody has any money and why nobody can get ahead in the world. Because you understand, when you're battling, yes, doing battle with mega corporations and with the government and with all these things, trying to make your way and to try to be successful, you are doing it under your own power the best that you can. And there's all sorts of things that can set you back. Everybody's got setbacks, some very, very significant. And a lot of those things, it's like, it's so depressing and so horrible and so hard in life sometimes that you're going to go off to drugs or off to booze or off to all these things and just be like, forget it. I'm not going to do anything anymore. Okay. Very overwhelming. And it's hard to overcome that when you get stuck in that rut. Now, what if you did have some safety nets out there? And what if you were started, your family had some business somewhere and you actually have a place to go? Even if you went off and did your own thing, there is still a family business that whatever happens, you could go to and be a part of, and a legacy that could continue on through your children, through your children's children, through your cousins, through everybody else. And everybody has this, not mommy's basement. Okay. Not mommy's basement. Everybody has some sort of a productivity, a product that they can go to, that they can be successful with. And whatever they do, their energy and their focus still is going towards something that's going to last some time. Not, I need to work more so I can buy a Buick and my kids can be latchkey kids. I need to work some more and, so I can get the boat or whatever it happens to be. Okay. All of these people, all of these families here, as far as I know, these guys are probably Freemasons and all that stuff, but did they get their start like that? My own personal example is I worked for Super Value Foods, Cub Foods, as a baker, and they were the highest paying probably job at the time in the area, in the state, right? And that store began as a convenience store, didn't even sell gasoline, called Hooley's. And it grew up to be the largest distributor of food in the Midwest. Now it has been since bought out by BlackRock, which I had learned yesterday, which is kind of funny. So they decided to let their legacy go, the Super Value people and Hooley's, Cub Foods and all that. I'm sure their family is still involved in Cub, but Super Value is BlackRock, super mega conglomerate. They gave it away because they wanted a boat or an island or whatever they wanted. Okay, but that ends then. The family legacy has ended, and now it's going to become the BlackRock legacy or the whoever, nameless, faceless corporation with 1,000 subsidiaries underneath it, right? It's no longer a family, and it's no longer productive. Now, what are those people going to do now? You're probably never going to hear about any of the Hooley family anymore, right? People probably don't even know who Hooley is. So there's your difference. These people, they start something and they're pooling their resources generation after generation. If people are mad at Jewish people running Hollywood, it's like, well, yeah, because they're only going to hire people of their same ideology, and they're only going to hire people that are in their clan. You may not like it, but doesn't it make sense? Doesn't it make sense to do that? Nepotism is real. And it's like, yeah, it's real good, but you're not the best person for the job. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's their stuff. It's their stuff. They can do with it what they want to. So I'm going to go on back over to this. Many baby boomers don't plan to leave their children an inheritance. Carol Willison has made lots of financial sacrifices for her two children over the years, including paying most of her older daughter's medical school and tuition. But Willison's generosity has reached its limits. So this person has a child that, needed all sorts of help. Apparently, who knows about that? Not only doesn't the 60-year-old Seattle woman plan to leave her daughters an inheritance when she dies, she tries to spend every last dime on herself before she goes. Okay? That's the mentality of the generations, and maybe that will be the mentality of generations going forward. I don't know. You know what I do know is that my father, who is a silent generation guy, has had a trust for us, me and my two brothers, ever since I was born, probably. Okay. Where I know generally about how much is allocated and all of that stuff. It's always been there. Silent generation guy. Okay. When I asked him, I said I wanted to go to school. He asked me, well, how are you going to pay for it? Right. He wasn't going to pay for my school. But at some point in time, there is something that's left there. There is something of a legacy and something. My mom, who was a few years younger, is a boomer. She's like, no. We're giving everything to charity. I'm not leaving my husband anything except, I'm taking my half of the house to the grave too. I'm going to take my half of the house to the grave. So if you get remarried, you have to buy out the kids. Okay. What kind of a selfish person does stuff like that and says, I don't want my ex-husband to come to my funeral. He's banned, right? That's the kind of person that my boomer mom was, right? And I don't think that's too far off from a lot of that generation. From what I am witnessing personally in my own realm, you guys can apply that information however you wish. Remember, we're talking idealism here, and we're talking what is the truth about this stuff. It seems to me that no one is pooling their resources. The best that we have now is the Gen Z and the millennial sitting in mom's basement playing video games. Is the best that we have for something that's, people trying to build something together. If you're living at home and you're studying stuff, or you're living at home and you're learning a new trade, or you're living at home and you're trying to start a business, or whatever the thing is, who cares, right? But if you're not doing anything, there's literally, you could live at home and go work, because there's way more jobs than there is people to work them right now. It's just one of those things. I mean, even I have a job and I don't need a job. I have a job because I want to invest more money into crypto. So it's always things you can do. Now it's like, do I have to waste my time going, put price tags on things? No, but it's not a waste when you go out there and you can understand, how far corporate things have gotten and what people's attitudes are and how they behave and things like this. There's a lot that I'm trying to learn from all this. And as well as it gives me, some chump change that I can dollar cost average into my cryptos. Okay. So right now it works fine. What else are you going to do with the time? Something productive. It will come a time and place where it's totally not gaining. It's losing me more than it's gaining to be doing my job, but that time is not right now. And that's how people should be when they're having opportunity and open times, is where can I hustle a little bit? Where can I hustle? So we're going back to Carol here. Quote from Carol, "My goal is when they carry me away in that box, my bank account is going to say 0. Willison said, "I'm going to spoil myself now." Upending the conventional notion of parents carefully tending their financial estates to be passed down and the reading of wills, many baby boomers say that instead they plan to spend the money on themselves while they are alive. In a survey of millionaire boomers by an investment firm of U.S. Trust, only 49 said it was important to leave money to their children when they die. Now, this is why I believe this is fact, because U.S. Trust are the people who are going to know, because they are setting up the trust for people. They're like, you don't want to set up a trust for your kids? Nah. The low rate was a big surprise for a company that for decades has advised wealthy people as to how to leave money to their heirs. This is how people know about it, is because the trust firms and the trust accounts up there are like, we're not making any money because these boomers are too selfish. We were like, wow, said Keith Banks, U.S. Trust president, an actual person. They actually have the guy's name in there. Remember what I said about what you can tell about articles when you read them and whether or not they are true or not? This guy's got his name behind what he said. He can't believe how selfish the boomers are. Whether to leave an inheritance is a decision increasingly faced by many of the nation's 77 million baby boomers, and it's becoming all the more complicated by the troubled economy. Boomers are caught between the desire to enjoy their long-awaited golden years. You know, their long-awaited golden years was their entire life, really until the 2000s probably, when we started to get into the New World Order takeover really hard. But all the way up until then, you know, you actually had real sound money based on gold. You could go make the equivalent of $30 an hour on minimum wage. Yeah, it was a pretty golden time. And the pressure of various financial concerns, such as fear of outliving their savings and the need to help parents, children, or siblings who have their own money struggles. Many boomers who, outliving their savings is kind of a funny one, because isn't that what Social Security is for? You can't live on like $2,500 a month. What did you do with your whole life? Oh, you racked up more and more and more and more debt. So there's nothing left. Gotcha. Many boomers who range in age from roughly 47 to 65, which is laughable. No, baby boomers are in their 56 or 50, 54 or 50. Yeah, they're mid 50s. It's like the youngest baby boomer is mid 50s, not in their 40s. Simply believe that after years of hard work, they can spend their money as they choose, experts say. Well, yes, people can do whatever they choose. There are good things to do, and there are bad things to do. They spent their lives building businesses and careers, and often at the expense of their health or personal relationships. After years of footing the bill for their kids' pricey education, they saw no reason to curb their spending impulses in later years. Well, how many of them actually paid for their kids' educations? Maybe some did. Good for them. Good for them. But this whole lives building businesses and careers, they invented the latchkey kid. They spent their lives building businesses and careers, not building families, not building legacies. I was a latchkey kid from the age of about 5. Okay? About 5. Often at the expense of their health or personal relationships. Yeah, like their kids. Besides, they figure their kids will get something since nobody can synchronize their demise precisely to emptying their bank accounts. The statement is I'm going to do everything in my power to spend every last nickel before I die to leave you with nothing but the bill for my funeral. Boy, I can't imagine why the average person, people broke now, why they don't have, family businesses to go work at, why they don't have industries that they can take part of, why they don't have a legacy, why they're not living on the Ponderosa Ranch. Okay. This article says 50% of the trust, the boomers for this trust fund are like, nah, nothing for the kids. I do not see my baby boomer clients giving up the vacation or wine or dinners out so they can leave more money to their children because they feel like they've already done it for their kids. And Susan Colpitz, executive vice president of wealth management firm in Norfolk, Virginia, that's her statement. Another person who is named. They say, if there's something at the end, I'd love the kids to have it. But what's important for me now is to get what I've earned, which is to travel and have a nice bottle of wine. Many baby boomers are already are giving the equivalent of an inheritance, except they're doling out cash while they're still alive, which is the better way to do it, by the way. Chief executive research firm in Wave. So, yes, before you're dead, like 10 years before you even get into the thing where you can't take care of yourself and stuff, you should have trust set up, and you should have things where if your kids are looking to go into some sort of a business thing or buy some real estate or something like that, that's an asset that's going to appreciate in value and help the family, you should just go ahead and give them the money now when they need it. They're supporting elderly parents, adult children, and family members who are suffering professional or financial woes. How can you say no when a child asks for a down payment for house money, blah, 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 blah. A lot of boomers are finding that family members are taking cash advances on those inheritances right now. Well, good, they should. Wealthy boomers are holding back inheritances for other reasons. Some worry that their kids will squander their inheritance money or develop a sense of entitlement. You mean like the boomers? The very idea that you're developing in a sense that you're not giving somebody something because they'll get into a sense of an entitlement isn't coming from a position of entitlement. What did I say about logic? 1/4 of boomers worry that their children will become lazy, and 1 in 5 fear that the kids will squander the money, according to the U.S. Trust Survey. More than half of the respondents haven't told their children how much they're worth. None of them have. Until they die, and then you find out they had nothing but bills. Norma Goldberger and her husband, Goldberger, and her husband plan to leave money in their 3 grown children with proceeds from the sale of a successful medical business. Norma Goldberger. But the Ohio couple have struggled with sending the right message. They have revised their will 3 times. Right. Sometimes your kids are messed up. So you have to figure out, who is, of the 3 stooges, your kids, who is the one who's least likely to piss everything away. Because the good example we have here is a Goldberger. From being self-made, I want them to feel the money is precious, Goldberger said. If they get a whole lump at once, maybe they wouldn't, and they might blow it all. Not that they're capricious people, but money can corrupt. Others have held off inheritance because they're scared of running out of money in a shaky economy. Well, isn't that what your kids are for? Right? You need to be like, look, yeah, I'll give you money for your down payment on your house, but if something happens to me and I have to go to the hospital or get taken care of, you got my back? Even the well-to-do have turned cautious, especially out of fear of spiraling medical costs. So that is, in essence, what the article is. And this is from 2011. So this is very, very old information. And the information that I have that's 80% plus was fairly recent, at like 2018, 2019, somewhere in there. So the amount of people that intend to just blow everything on hookers and blow went from 50% in 2011 to now like 80%. All right. And there's a variety of reasons of that. Obviously, the increase in costs of things like that. And baby boomers grew up in a generation where they believe that money, you should save money, right? And put it in your bank account. And then you have your ones and zeros and you earn interest and all that. And that's just not the way to do it. Okay. That's to no fault of their own. So if they're planning on living on a savings account, that was a bad investment choice. But hindsight is 2020. All right. Hindsight is 2020 on that one. But if you've got houses, vacation properties, timeshares, stocks, and all of these things, and you cash them all out so you can, go to an assisted living place where you never have to worry about anything, and they bring you your food, room service every day, and then your kids have nothing. Is that what Walton did? Is that what Hooley did? The thing is that you get in, the reason that these families have power and will never lose their power is because that's how they treat their family. They always intend to leave a legacy, and you're always going to be a part of it. If you don't want to be your family owns a bakery, okay, and you don't want to be a baker and you don't want to have anything to do with the business, you hire somebody who is competent and capable to run that business until one of your kids or somebody in the family wants to take it over and be a bigger part of it, or you just become a shareholder of it. So you actually have a stake in it. If you don't want to be a baker and you don't want to run that type of business, you don't just sell it off. Yeah, so we'll run through some chat stuff here on the rants for stuff. And this whole idea, the boomers got away from the Bible real hardcore, real just don't want nothing to do with it, except they'll show up in a ritualistic, idealistic, idol worshiping thing on Sunday to say that they go to church, and so they can feel like they're going to heaven. But there's no morality anywhere in there, because the reason that you have laws and all sorts of things surrounding inheritance and the passing on of things is because that's what you're supposed to do. Look at the Bible, guys. Everything is passed down. Where do we even get sin from? Passed down from Adam. The whole thing is about inheritance and carrying on legacies. Anyways, we'll take a look at chat here. It's like we got Brett here. How's it going, man? Looks like we're talking about like prepping and stuff like that. And we're in the times, like I said, I work in that where I raise prices by 15 to 20% on most things. And prepping is a good idea. Get things on clearance, get things on sale, and stock up canned stuff like that. And related to that, it's like, well, with the population of America being like 70% overweight, they could probably do with, eating 20% less if they can't afford it. That's just my personal opinion. That goes back to the family thing, as we'll go back down into that, as to like the family where the baby boomer generation, and probably since then, it's probably Gen X too. The marriage divorce rate or whatever is like over 50% now. We're holding strong at 51% stay married. And I think that's just been about blown away. And you look at the reasons for that, and it's like, it's because the boomers are too selfish, and why the families are all deteriorated, and why families have no cohesion. It has a lot to do with divorce. Where the people just get caught up in their own lives, and you've got, the guy goes to do his job and his work and his thing, and he has his whole thing there, and people work 40, 50 hours a week to buy their boat, right? But then mom's got her job, and she's got her whole life, and she has her whole thing, and these people just live two totally different lives. And unfortunately, with all of this stuff, the kids kind of get in the way. And I've got my goals and I've got my priorities, and this everything changes. And you've got these growing problems in the areas of like, people eating junkier and junkier food because there's no family dinners anymore. People are gaining weight and all this stuff. And then you've got, dad's going to go off and look at porn, and then mom's going to go off and eat donuts. And and your family falls apart. So you're not going to have any cohesion. You're not going to have any family business and all that stuff. That's a big part of it. And what I thought was funny on that was a pastor who had spoken to that about, as you know, because all good pastors have to be in the realm of marriage counseling nowadays to help some of these people. And he was on the news. I think he was even on Drudge Report, because they were calling him misogynist and all this stuff. Because he says, look, if people come to me for marriage counseling, the first question I'm going to ask them is, how much weight did they gain since they got married? And it's like, go lose some weight and then come back, and then I'll talk to you then, because there's probably some truth to that, where just people is to have these expectations like, oh, well, now I'm married, and now I don't have to worry about nothing. And we don't have to be productive anymore. And now half of the burden that I carried myself when I was a single person, I can now shift off to something else. And then with my free time, remember we were talking about free time and how sometimes you have to hire people to take care of things like the lawn because you don't have the time. Or sometimes you have someone do the lawn because you want to watch Netflix and you don't want to do anything, right? Well, you've got a large portion of people who, with that time, they just don't want to do anything. And things happen there. And the people decide that they didn't sign up for that, right? Didn't sign up for that. And That's what happens. And it's like, yeah, it's a dark truth though. You know, if you got married to someone who decides to gain 100 pounds, and it's like, well, what do you do with that? You know, isn't that the person you understand with, like, it's not just simply the weight gain thing. It's that it also affects the way the person thinks and the way their mood is. And they also develop all sorts of health problems and things like that. And everyone's irritable and a pain. And then you've got kids running around. And before you know it, people are divorced. Okay. I know I'm grasping in a lot of different things. Okay. But hey, it's all about family today. It's all about family today. And, you know, it's funny coming from me as a complete outsider because I didn't have any family, really. I have a lot of bad examples of family. So I can spot these things maybe where some other people can't. And like I said, I'm not condemning anybody. I'm not, you know, trying to be all super judgmental. I'm pointing out the idealistic, because I'm totally guilty of being a selfish person. I'm totally guilty of a lot of these different things. Okay. The idea though is to make little changes in your attitude and your behavior, little changes that over time, they don't even seem like changes to you. They just become a way of life. All right. Back to chat. Baby boomer generation cusp is around 56. Yeah, somewhere around there. Baby boomers end at 1965 is when their born date. And my brother is 67 and he's thoroughly a Gen Xer. Likes all the same stuff that I do. And trust me, there is a brainwave pattern that's different in the boomer generation, because I actually once upon a time dated for a long time someone who was in the baby boomer generation. He's like 13, 14 years older than me when I was in my 20s. And they think different compared to a Gen X. And I said yesterday or day before, whenever I did my last stream, my brother has boomer tendencies, right? But, you know, he's hard Gen X. Nick, you had a side rant? Nothing wrong with side rants. You say sedentary lifestyles and sedentary careers are the problem. No, it's not. It's an America problem. It's a nihilism. Me, accept everybody for everything that they do. Nothing is wrong. Nothing is shameful at all. We're America. We accept. We're a melting pot. No, other countries have this thing called shame. When somebody does something stupid, you laugh at them and you mock at them. When somebody does something they shouldn't be doing, people point it out and go, "What are you doing?" Okay. In America, they throw you in jail for that. Okay. That's what happened. And the reason that is happening is because nobody wants to point to the food. All right. It doesn't matter. You don't have to exercise at all and you'll be in shape. Okay. People aren't built to be working hard labor nonstop. All you have to do is control your intake of food. And what I mean by that is not cutting down your food to eating a cracker a day. That isn't at all what I mean. Is like, if you're a person who likes to eat, you find things to eat that you can eat that you won't gain weight. Okay. You can eat, for instance, nobody wants to do this and this isn't realistic, but you could eat all the salad you want to 24/7. You will not gain any weight. A simple thing, you know, is try to take corn syrup out of your diet. Well, that's not actually simple, but like, you don't have to change anything and just try to not eat corn syrup. It says you can eat all the steak and the potatoes you want to, and all the honey you want to, and molasses and all this stuff. Try not to have corn syrup. And that's the problem. See, I watch a lot more older movies and a lot more older television shows than I do anything modern. And obviously the woke culture and a whole lot of other stuff is the reasons for this, but it's aggravating me personally because, you know, the fat thing kind of bothers me. But you look at these old shows, anything before 1990, probably even like early 80s, the people looked normal. There was an occasional fat person, but they weren't even really fat. They were just, maybe 30 pounds overweight. Everybody else you look in all these shows looks normal, looks like normal weight. And it's not just because they're in Hollywood, because you can look and you can see people's home videos. You can see the people, the soldiers and the people from World War II and from Korea and all these different things and all the historic stuff. And you've got Martin Luther King and all these. You can see what people look like. Mary Tyler Moore, all this stuff. You can see what people look like back then. None of them were chiseled abs, bodybuilding, the Rock, Dwayne Johnsons. And you look at like the guy who played James Bond, one of my favorite actors. Of course, I can't remember his name because I'm trying to recall it off the top of my head. But that dude, he was James Bond, the sexiest man for Hollywood, Sean Connery. Okay, the dude had a dad bod the entire time, all the way through his 30s and all the way through everything. But he wasn't fat, he wasn't obese, he's just a regular dude. Regular dude. Do I think that these guys had specific, particular diets to do all this back then? No, they just ate real food. In the 1980s, there was this thing where all of a sudden they decided that all of these additives and all these things that were considered poison before, they decided to say, the FDA said, well, it's all good with us. So hence we have corn syrup. Hence we have GMO beets for sugar. Hence we have modified cornstarch. That makes up 90% of the food, okay? And all these things, our body doesn't really know what to do with them. So, knowing that, just eat real food, okay? There is no way. Now, according to the standards, the body mass index, whatever, anyone believes in any of that, okay? If you're overweight, you're up to 30 pounds overweight. You're obese if you're more than 30 pounds overweight, and you're morbidly obese if you're like 50 and up, 50 pounds overweight and more, to where a morbidly obese person is going to have getting out of bed problems, health problems, and they're probably going to be on diabetes medication. All right. You can eat whatever the heck you want and as much as you want, as long as you stay away from things like corn syrup. Will you be overweight? Yeah, probably, but you ain't going to be morbidly obese. Things like morbid obesity comes from corn syrup, sitting around eating your Doritos and drinking, a case of sugar pop a day and waiting for your check to show up in the mail. That's what happens with that. Okay. And it's like, oh, you're supposed to feel bad for people like that. And that's the thing is, like, if you like eating, find stuff that you can eat as much as you want to, and it's not going to affect your health. I don't know. And you say, well, it's so easy for me. I said, well, if anything, I'm underweight. I don't have time to eat. I got to hire someone to eat for me, right? That's the position that I'm sort of in. But if I worked a physical job like I have in the past, where you're doing landscaping or you're doing something where it's heavy work, it's like, yeah, I'd be bulked up. But if I primarily sit in a chair all day long, I don't necessarily need to have an extra 20 pounds on me to sit here and talk in a camera. Or to put prices on the shelf. Scott Wells says going to cut out as much sugar as possible. Yeah, and you can eat sweets like honey is a superfood. You can eat all the honey you want. Okay, there's a lot of peanut butters out there, even the cheap bottom shelf peanut butter. If you look at it, some of it doesn't have corn syrup and it doesn't have hydrogenated oils. Some of it's just peanut butter. So you get your peanut butter and you get your honey, and there's a pretty good treat. And, there's all sorts of like ice cream yogurt type things, and also you use honey as a sweetener, or even real cane sugar. They sell it and in a tub. It's brown. It's just cane sugar. There's nothing wrong with cane sugar. Granted, you probably don't want to eat that like nonstop. I imagine you'd want a limit on that. But it's nowhere near as bad as like the white sugar that's processed GMO beets and corn syrup, which is terrible. And obviously everything in moderation. But if you have a problem with stuff like that, you got to understand that you buy something that comes in a box that you put in the microwave, there is corn syrup in it, and there is MSG, which is a neurotoxin. So you just think it tastes good. And it programs your brain to think that MSG is good. Because I know I like MSG. I like the way that it tastes, and I'm trying to stay away from it. And the point is not to abstain from these things necessarily unless you want to. The point is to just recognize that when you're eating something that's junk, you recognize that, okay, I'm going to eat this and it's junk. And you can excuse it for whatever reason you want to, and it's no one's going to care and no one's going to know but you. But as long as you acknowledge that, yes, this is crap, I'm going to eat it. All right. That will limit the amount of junk that you actually consume just by even taking notice of it and looking at it and taking the second to read the can. You'd be amazed. You read these boxes, you don't know what half the stuff is in there. And I think it's a proven fact that some of these things you eat, the cardboard is more nutritious. When you're talking about Cheetos and you're talking about Doritos and things like that. Let's see. Nick says the fat kids at school would be deemed normal today, if not for the smaller side. Yeah. That's the real tragedy is not, if you just want to sit on the couch and, eat Doritos and drink Mountain Dew, that's fine, but you've got kids to take care of. And if you've got kids, number one, you shouldn't be in that pathetic state because you're setting a bad example. Number one. Number two, those kids are going to have to take care of your fat butt when you have all these health problems. That's not really fair to them. And if you're feeding them this garbage, you're wrecking their lives because then they're going to be programmed to grow up and eat and think that Taco Bell is food. Rand says also eating frequency is key. Cut out snacks and allow yourself to get hungry. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, everyone to each their own. I am always for the simplest solution when it comes to something like weight loss, which is, like I said, what's a bigger issue than actually being fat or being 20, 30 pounds overweight is what is that weight composed of? So if you're eating, I mean, there are some thick people, right? There are some thick people that are like construction workers that have more fat than other people, but they're still in really strong, good shape. That odds are those are the outliers though. And the majority of people, their skin is all, it's not even tight anymore. Your skin's all messed up. And that's from eating junk, right? So the easiest possible solution, if you're a person who likes to sit and just snack on stuff and eat things, is just eat as much as, find things, do a day's worth of research and find all of the different foods you can eat that you can just eat as much as you want. They exist. You can just eat as much as you want until you're full. Salad is an example. Granted, nobody likes eating salad. I happen to like it, but most people don't like eating salad. But you could eat salad nonstop all day long. And don't ever buy anything that's low fat at the store. Ever. Those will kill you way faster than anything else. They're replacing all of that stuff with motor oil and what do you call it? Antifreeze. Don't ever buy low fat. If you're going to buy crap food, just go ahead and fess up and say, I'm going to buy my crap food. Okay. Don't buy your crap food and go, well, it's low fat, so at least it's not that bad. And I know people do that. Okay. Because maybe they're not aware, but the low fat is what you don't want anything that says low fat on it. Nothing. Just find things that you can eat as much of that you want. Now, I'm not one for watching my weight. Although at one point I was 20 pounds heavier than I am now. Right now, this is what I weighed in high school. So as a 43-year-old man, I think I'm probably doing something right. But at one point I was like getting 15, 20 pounds over and my pants were tight. And I'm like, this is terrible. This sucks. And I actually went to the doctor to figure out what the heck is going on. And the doctor's like, oh, I gain and lose 10 pounds every other week. And I'm like, what? There's someone like me is like, this is a strange thing where it didn't even feel like my body anymore. And I didn't go into any weight loss regime or anything, I just continued to exist, but I didn't go out and go accept the fact and go out and go buy a whole new wardrobe and just, this is just the new me. I didn't do that. But yeah, it's to each their own on that regard. The biggest point though is that understand that what you think might be food at the store is probably not food. Okay. and things that you think are, make sure that the things you think are healthy are actually healthy. The only thing you really kind of count on is, buying your steaks and getting your vegetables and, maybe some potatoes or some rice in there. And even the rice, I don't know if that's GMO now or not. It comes out of China. I don't know. But rice used to be, if you buy the stuff that's in a bag, you can eat as much rice as you want. Any sort of flavoring on it, throw some butter on it. There are foods out there like rice. Your body will process it really quick. So yeah. Sam J says smash likes. Absolutely smash likes. Yeah, the only thing I did actually wrote down a mental note on the whole liking thing on YouTube. Now, recently YouTube, I don't know if they put through a patch, but nobody gets notified for live streams anymore until I'm actually already been live. My other new channels is like there's really hardly any traffic to it. Not sure what the metrics are, but the very easiest, simplest thing to do is, if you want to keep people to keep creating content, is you hit the like button. If you ain't got any other means to support, it's like an investing of, if anything I have to say is worthwhile, it's a small investment that my channel will stick around and I'll keep doing this, is to just hit the likes. It have to. This channel was in a black box for a long time. Apparently it's been released. I've been in it for long enough that they're putting all these other channels into the black box that I guess I escaped out the side or something, maybe. But if it's at all worthwhile information or whatever, that is really the only way to support what I'm doing. And to get notified, you click the little bell thing and say you want everything that comes out of me, because I have 3 channels. Okay. And some days might be 2-3 weeks before I come up with a video. Eating frequency and cutting out snacks. Yeah. Frank says, oh, good. Max didn't mention McDonald's, like the big Grand Mac, and it just came out. Yeah. I mean, the fast food tastes good. Here's the thing is, like, I like my Big Macs at McDonald's. You know how often I get one? Once every 6 months, maybe. And that's when we're out on the road on a trip. And pretty much what you have if you don't want to stop driving is you're going to fast food. But that is an acknowledgement of, I'm going to go eat crap food because my stomach is rumbling and a Big Mac sounds good. That is not, okay, kids, it's Thursday, we're going to McDonald's so you can get a Happy Meal and go play on the swings and eat your shakes and all that junk. Right? There's a difference there. And as long as you make a note of the stuff you're doing that probably ain't good, and as long as you note it, after a while, you'll get programmed into your brain that you're just going to stop. You're just looking and go like, maybe I'll find something else, I'm working on that right now with coffee, because the cost of coffee is going to explode. Brazil got wiped out. They had really rough drought, and then they had really, really cold weather, and they kind of wiped out their coffee production. So people out there, right now, coffee is dirt cheap in America. It probably won't be so in another 6 months. It'll probably triple in price, if not even higher. And so I drink way too much coffee because I don't have a replacement. See, I'm in this position where somebody who eats too much food, and they really like eating, they need to find something that they can eat all the time without gaining weight that they like, right? I'm in the position where I drink fluids all day long. And I used to drink Diet Coke all day long. Obviously, that's bad. Okay, I still buy Diet Coke, and I still have Diet Coke occasionally. Still do it. Remember, this is the idealist stream. Do as I say, not as I do, or something. Is that how that goes? I don't know. But the point is I don't drink. I used to drink like a 12-pack of that a day. So did my brother. Okay. So we really consume a lot of fluids. And then you can go off into whether it be Diet Coke, or whether it be beer, or whether it be something else. Okay. So coffee, there we go. Flavored water with some caffeine in it. I like my coffee. I like warm drinks. Okay, so now we're in the process of, what can I drink other than coffee? Now, I like tangy tangerine, but that stuff is really, really expensive. Kind of hard to drink that all day long. I think your kidneys would probably have some problems too with how much nutrition is packed into stuff like that. And then people say, well, why don't you just drink water? It's like, because water's blah. Okay. Water is blah. But every time I make another pot of coffee, you know what I'm thinking? I need to find a replacement for this. Okay. I haven't done it yet. It's on the list. And that's what it's about. And that's what it's about. Understanding is like, yeah, that's the thing I probably couldn't be. And find a replacement at some point in time. But, down the road, if I've already had problems because my teeth started kind of falling, they're not falling apart, but you get like receding gum line a little bit. And then you have some problems back in there, and I couldn't figure out what it was because I'm using good toothpaste and using all of this and that, and quit drinking a lot of things that would cause problems for your teeth. And I don't eat much. Okay. So I'm like, what's going on here? And it was all of a sudden at a very definite point. And it turns out that it's the coffee. If you drink coffee for a long period of time, it changes the acidity and the chemistry of your mouth to where you have a very acid mouth, and it starts whittling away and taking calcium out of your bones to deal with the acidity that's in the coffee. Okay. So now to confront that, I have an alkalizing toothpaste. All right. So I have that, still have to replace it, but it does cause problems. Now you can't feel bad for me because I know what's going on. Doesn't mean I'm going to stop coffee anytime soon. Right. But I know. I figured things out. One way says tea. I don't know if tea causes the same sort of acidic reaction. I would expect that it does, but I don't know. Tea is okay. They don't have big pot tea makers though, and my wife's got a thing that boils water that I used to use when I used to drink tea occasionally. But man, whipping a pot of coffee up, I have it down to less than a minute. I can empty out the cold coffee in the carafe, whatever they call, put it in the microwave for a minute, go back, fill that thing up with water, get rid of the coffee grounds, replace the grounds, fill the thing up with water, put it in there and hit the button to go before my coffee comes out of the microwave. We got her down to a science. Many different flavors of tea. I was looking at stevia pop, right? Because stevia is not bad in pop. That's another sweetener. That's an organic sweetener that I would expect your body could probably eat as much as you want of that and not have a problem. I don't know all the science behind stevia, but it's just a plant that's sweet, and it tastes kind of nasty in some things, but in pop, it's not too bad. The problem is it's like $8 a 12 pack. And it's like, I drink way too many fluids. We got to do it on the cheap. I'm nonstop drinking fluids. So I'm kind of have to go to water or something. I don't know. Put a tea bag and brew it like you. Yeah. It's a lot of work. You apparently don't understand the amount of liquids that I consume on a daily basis. So yeah, that is what I have. I don't know if anyone has any questions or any comments or anything. I don't want to rally on too long and shame everybody as much as I possibly can. Remember, I have my disclaimer. I am guilty of all this stuff too, either in the past, now, or in the future. At some point, we all are, but you got to take these truths and remember, now take note of when you do something good. And it's all about like little changes and little things you can do, and working on that and building from there. And then it's like, you have the urge, you're going to go through the drive-thru and buy a Big Mac, and you're like, I guess I can wait. Or you go through the drive-thru, and instead of buying a Big Mac, you buy a mixed salad that also has corn syrup in it. But at least you're trying. A big one that my wife's brother and his wife did was like sort of like the Atkins type thing. And people just don't believe it, I guess. But yeah, if you just eat meat and cheese and fat and stuff and you cut out carbohydrates, that's another way of just, you don't really have to, you can eat as much as you want for meat and all that stuff. People have a real hard time with bread. Real hard time with bread. Which honestly is, there's like very, very little next to no nutritional value, and it pretty much just goes straight onto fat. But people love their bread. I suppose pasta falls in that category. I'm not much of a pasta guy, so never had to think about it. Back on the teeth thing. Frank says, amen. We can all learn from our past or each other to avoid problems. Well, the idea is to like trying to make little improvements for the future. I mean, everyone's waiting to get caught up. Oh, well, looks like the earth is about toast. We got the new world order coming in. We could just do whatever we want because, you know, Lord will be here soon. And it's like, well, you don't know that. You don't know. I mean, it's the thing is like, it's very so beneficial to yourself to take care of yourself while you can, right? If you're in your 40s, 50s, and even like someone who takes care of themselves in their 60s and 70s is just as fit as a 40-year-old. Okay. But if you really wreck yourself, especially when you're getting into your 40s, you really start wrecking yourself. It's pretty hard to come back from that. You have to make a very concerted effort. Because I know granted, I'm like thin now or whatever. I was never really fat. It's just a matter about strength and bulk and your reflexes and your metabolism and all of that. It really does change for most people, late 30s and early 40s. I used to box. I used to basically live at a fight club house with a bunch of people that just kind of sat and did drugs and stuff. Did their little jobs, and they're young guys like in their 20s. And I was into boxing, and we'd have barbecues and things in the backyard, and we'd all be boxing, right? And I've been doing this stuff, and physical guy, I've been doing it for a long time. So I kind of show them what's up. Boy, but Ray, as soon as you're around 40 years old, all of a sudden, like a year later, year and a half later, there goes the reflexes. I'm getting hit with stuff I shouldn't get hit with. It's kind of like, okay, time to hang the boxing gloves up. Okay, there's real stuff to that. But if your lifestyle is already good before you're entering into that period of time, it's not that big of a deal. But if your lifestyle was trash completely, and you're like, well, when I get older, I'll fix it. It's a lot harder. It's a lot harder. Nick says baking soda toothpaste is good. Yes. Alkalizing. And you can even put it in with if you're still using something like Crest or something like that. I don't because of fluoride, of course, but even with regular toothpaste, just put your toothpaste on there and dip it in a bag of baking soda. And that alkalizes your mouth, which is very healthy for your mouth. Stops germs and stuff like that. But the big thing is people that have like, if you get like gingivitis or things, people would say that that's because you're not eating enough vegetables and stuff. And really, it's probably because you're drinking too much soda or something that makes your mouth too acidic. And and it leaches. In order to fix that, your body leaches out the calcium from your jaw and your palate up there. And that causes receding gums. And because your teeth aren't built and designed to be protected up below where your skin would be, then you have some problems up there. And that's what it is. You're never going to find that anywhere on any health thing. You have to go out and go find these things, and you got to dig pretty deep before you run into stuff like that. And then they got guys like me out there who share it to everybody out there. So yes, like and subscribe and all that good stuff. Show me the truth says fluoride is aluminum runoff. Well, fluoride can be good for you if it's a natural calcium fluoride, but what they have is actually is a hazardous waste that comes from smokestacks. And that's where your industrial fluoride comes from that they put in the water supplies. So yes, before we get on a big tangent about fluoride and all of that, there's this there concludes the rant about why, so many of us are poor, and why the quote unquote elite, I still don't like calling them elite, but why they're elite, it really just happens to be because they pool their resources. You're in a family lineage, you may not like your brother, you may not like your dad, you may not like your uncle, you may not like these people, but what connects you all together is the bloodline, is the family, is if somebody dies out of somewhere, even if you two didn't get along, he's getting your stuff. Okay. So you have a connection there as far as your legacy, as far as the things that you put together and built. And there is a passing on there that's just inherent of being related to somebody. So, and you don't have to work for it. You don't have to work to put any of that stuff together. You just have to raise your kids in a way that is, look out for each other, you two. You better look out for each other. And you better look out for me. Otherwise, I'm not going to look out for you. Well, don't be tit for tat. My dad was tit for tat. Yeah. And I don't have any kids of my own, so I can't really speak to any of that. But so there we have it. Thank you all for coming. Frank, Nick, everybody out there, Brett, Rand, Scott, and anybody else that I may have forgotten, Jessica Jane. All right. You all take it easy, take care, and, try to work for little things. Be little pockets of productivity that would, be beneficial for you in the future and kind of have it as your own personal legacy, if anything else. Yeah. With that, we are going to be out of here.